from the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast, bringing to you live from the National News Studios here at the ChannelEye Rupavahini Corporation. We're ready to bring you the top stories here at home and around the world. I'm Charita Minipurarachi, together with Sharifa Tahir. Fuel distribution continues without interruptions. Stock of Indian contribution of medicines and surgical equipment scheduled to reach Sri Lanka by next Wednesday. The President says the government's aim is to provide clean water and sanitation facilities to all in the next 3 years. The World Bank and the IMF says the economic crisis is the outcome of global crisis, not restricted to a single country. Ranil Wickremesinghe and Sajith Premadasa hold different views on interim administration. A suspect connected to the Rambukana protest has been taken into CID custody. The UN Secretary General in preparations to meet the presidents of Russia and Ukraine. On to those and other stories in detail now, and starting off with local stories. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation says the distribution of fuel is being conducted without any interruptions. The CPC says the highest number of bowsers have been deployed in the distribution in the previous day supplies.
Distribution of petrol and diesel from the Kolonnawa terminal of the oil complex is being conducted successfully. Our correspondent says as a result of the deployment of more bowsers, a decline in long queues at filling stations has been witnessed. Our Northern Province correspondent says fuel distribution in the Northern Province has returned to normal. Filling station owners in the province say the required quantities of petrol and diesel have been received. 3-hour and 20-minute power cuts are being conducted island-wide today as well. A power discontinuation of 2 hours was carried out between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. A 1-hour and 20-minute power cut was conducted from 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. Tomorrow, only a 3-hour duration of power cut will be enforced. 1-hour and 40-minute power cut will be conducted from 9 a.m. to 5:20 p.m. and another 1-hour and 20-minute power cut will be enforced from 5:20 p.m. to 9:20 p.m. Minister Professor Channa Jayasumana says that a contribution of the Government of India comprising of medicines and surgical medical equipment is scheduled to reach Sri Lanka by next Wednesday.
And the donation includes 101 types of drugs and surgical equipment. The items are scheduled to be brought to the island via ship carrier of the Indian Navy. The minister further says that a stock of essential medicines donated by the nation government is also scheduled to arrive in Sri Lanka within a week time. The value of this stock of medicines is 340 million rupees.
We have to make sure the essential medications will be available in future, as well as some of the devices and other necessary items, including antibiotics. So we need updated list from the Ministry of Health, because a lot of organizations, professional colleges have developed links with abroad, and they are assisting us. So we have the opportunity to directly import them, as well as sometimes they are ready to give us monetary assistance, so we can purchase from the local agents if they have stocks available. So we are planning to distribute these things especially directly to the needy hospitals, and if these items if we face a difficulty in distribution, ministry officials agreed to help us.
And meanwhile, Finance Minister Ali Sabri was engaged in a special discussion with Lee Bushait regarding as an expert in international debts restructuring in Washington, D.C. and in the United States. The Sri Lankan delegation headed by the Finance Minister have conducted many rounds of talks with the specialists on the sidelines of the spring session conducted jointly with the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Mr. Lee Bushait has briefed the Sri Lankan delegation on a methodology relating to debt restructuring as a means to find speedy solution to the existing economic crisis in Sri Lanka. Accordingly, a communique issued by the Minister of Finance in this connection, both parties were engaged in detailed clarifications on the issue. Mr. Bushait's extensive contribution in the resolutions of the global financial crisis has been recalled on this occasion. He had also taken the initiatives to resolve the Latin American economic crisis in the 1980s decade. Mr. Lee Bushait was also included in the board of intellectuals who had played a prominent role in resolving the grave debt restructuring crisis faced by Iraq after the Iraq War. He has also extensively contributed to the resolution of the economic crisis faced by Greece. Mr. Bushait is an honorary professor in the Faculty of Law of the University of Edinburgh. And meanwhile, the Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says he is feeling fine and in good health.
He has responded to false media propaganda being circulated by an organized gang via social media regarding the Prime Minister receiving treatment in hospital.
In a response to a query regarding the Prime Minister's admission to a private hospital last night for treatment, he has categorically denied the news, stating that he has not visited a hospital even to see a patient. When he was asked to comment on the massive burdens experienced by the people due to the high cost of living, the Prime Minister said all must act with great caution to come out of the situation. He added that Sri Lanka has experienced more grave situations in history. In reply to another query regarding a statement from a group of MPs calling for his resignation from the post of Prime Minister, he said he does not believe that a majority of people want him to resign. When the Prime Minister was informed over a letter handed over to the President by former Minister Dalasalaha Peruma, stating that the Cabinet of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister should resign in order to appoint an interim government, he has questioned as to how an interim administration could be brought when each person is against the other. He has also said that if an interim administration is to be set up, it should be formed under the leadership. The Prime Minister further said that he does not believe this nobody would have liked to have interim governments with the inclusion of persons such as Ranil Wickremesinghe or others. Commenting on the queries regarding agitations being carried out in the Goldface Green at prison, the Prime Minister said that the solutions have to be found through all discussions to bring into a conclusion of such protest. He added that he has called on the agitators to conduct talks with the government. The Prime Minister said he believed that it is conductive for the agitators to conduct talks with any party of the government with whom they have confidence. When it was recalled that the youth groups at the protest refused to come forward for discussions, the Prime Minister said that the doors of the temple trees remain open for them to engage in talks at any time. He further said that he would be able to present the MPs and ministers suitable for such talks.
Moving on to more local news updates, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says the national target of the government is the supply of pure drinking water, highest forms of sanitation and water-related infrastructure facilities to all citizens in the next 3 years. He further says plans are underway to commence new water schemes countrywide by improving the capacities and qualitative nature of existing water supply projects.
And meanwhile, the President has made these remarks addressing the two-day water conference of the 4th Asia-Pacific meeting commenced in Kumamoto in Japan today.
The theme of the conference is optimum water usage for sustainable development and the next generation. The summit is being attended by heads of states and representatives of international organizations in 48 states in the Asian Pacific region, including Japan. The meeting was dealt with the issue of how to implement the recommendations adopted at the 3rd Asia-Pacific Conference on water-related topics held in Myanmar in the year 2017. The outcome of the progress of the conference is to be presented as the Kumamoto Declaration to the United Nations Water Conference is scheduled to be conducted in March next year. Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, delivering the keynote address of the conference, said that Japan is ready to share its specialist knowledge with other countries in the Asia-Pacific region.
Next presentation is from the President of the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka.
Significantly improving water-related infrastructure, including clean water supply and sanitation for all by 2025 remains a national target. We are continually improving capacity and quality of existing water supply schemes and initiating new ones to cater to areas with poor coverage. Even during the COVID-19 pandemic, my government was able to increase the number of new water connections to the public by more than 50% compared to what had been achieved annually in previous years. Several projects intended towards improving water cycle management were also undertaken. These achievements reflect the emphasis we give to inclusivity and to fostering participatory growth to all Sri Lankans, which is at the heart of my government's development effort. Despite considerable resource constraints made far worse through the pandemic and our ongoing financial crisis, Sri Lanka's commitment towards such development as well as towards sustaining a progressive agenda on the environment remains unchanged. Sri Lanka welcomes investments, technology transfers, and financing for our sustainability efforts, as well as broader development assistance and cooperation for debt restructuring to support our economic recovery during this critical time. All of us alive today are custodians of this planet and on behalf of future generations. Managing water for sustainable development is a duty incumbent on all of us on behalf of our future generations. Let us work untiringly towards this on behalf of our people and our planet.
Sri Lankan ambassador in Japan, Sanjeev Gunasekara, attended the inaugural session representing the Sri Lankan government.
And the goal-faced protest in front of the presidential secretariat was staged for the 15th day today.
People arriving from many parts of the country were engaged in the protest last night as well. Protesters carrying placards of numerous slogans have assembled at the main entrance of the presidential secretariat. Some groups were engaged in protest this morning. A group of graduates and undergraduates of the Sri Jawaharlal University were engaged in a protest march in front of the Fort Railway Station to the Golf Face Green. Some groups are protesting in front of the Presidential Secretariat at present. A protest against high cost of living was held in front of the main bus stand in the Kalutara town yesterday. A group of plantation workers in Bogavantalava have also conducted a protest against rising fuel prices and other issues today.
And a protest organized by the Samagi Janabalavega against the government was conducted in the Abalapitiya town today with the participation of opposition leader Sajid Premadasa. A protest march commenced from the Hingurana town has reached the Abalapitiya town, covering a distance of around 2.5 kilometers. Thereafter, a public meeting was held. And Minister of Mass Media Dr. Nalaka Kodaheva says the President has refused to accept the letter sent by him stating of his willingness to resign from his new cabinet ministerial portfolio at any moment.
The minister adds that therefore he will continue to extend support to the President to rebuild the economy by functioning as a minister.
Minister of Mass Media Dr. Nalaka Kodaheva said that the President has made some very constructive changes in the Cabinet of Ministers on the 19th of this month. He added that the President has appointed him also as a minister. The minister added that, however, a very unfortunate incident has taken place the day after of his appointment. That was the Rabukana incident. He further said that he felt these disturbances would further escalate. Therefore, he has also decided to resign from his post to pave the way to restore political stability. The minister also said that he believed that it would have been appropriate to appoint a Cabinet of Ministers more acceptable to the people. In order to create such an opportunity, he added that he submitted a letter to the President expressing his willingness to step down from his post. Minister Kodaheva also said that he does not receive any personal benefits from the ministerial position. And meanwhile, the leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, says whoever comes to the power later on will have to take unpopular but stern decisions regarding the economy.
The world economic crisis has created an impact on the local economic crisis as well. Therefore, it is imperative for all members of Parliament to unite to face the present challenge. Ranil Wickremesinghe has made these remarks addressing a seminar of bankers held in Colombo yesterday.
UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe said that the world has recorded progress every time Sri Lanka was having economic problems. A rapid development was reported in many countries. We could have joined this development if we had made an effort. Some of our problems are different from worldwide problems. Fuel prices are rising rapidly throughout the world. Even rich countries such as the Great Britain, the USA, as well as many European states are paying a higher price for oil. But Sri Lanka do not have enough dollars. We could have still purchased fuel as the prices were lower. Sri Lanka now have to pay $50 billion for a shipment of oil, which the country has purchased for $25 billion earlier. It would be hearing for a massive food shortage. 30% of the world wheat farming is being carried out in Ukraine. Russia also produces 20% of the maize harvest. The same is true with the fertilizer as well. This is a worldwide problem. Sri Lanka must ponder how to get over the problem. All must join hands for a common program. There is no other alternative. Most people do not realize the gravity of the problem. The UNP leader added that a 113-vote majority will not be able to solve the problem. The country needs a massive vote strength as during the regime of J.R. Jayawardena. He added that at last a majority of 175 voters is required. We have not yet reached the most difficult stage. Whoever comes to power will have to take difficult decisions. Nobody could resolve the issue through popular measures. The bitter truth will have to be spoken. The people in the country must be ready to face the reality. If not, there will not be any getaway.
Parliamentarian Mujibur Rahman says they are ready to hand over to the Speaker the Samagi Janabalavaga's no confidence motion against the government next Monday. He was expressing his opinion at a media briefing today. Parliamentarian Mujibur Rahman said that he believes that all MPs have expressed their agreement for the presentation of the no confidence motion in Parliament. However, several political parties which came into the opposition are scheduled to sign later on. He added that according to the available information, there is a possibility to hand over the no confidence motion on next Monday. Commenting on the Golf is Green protest, Mujibur Rahman said he is aware that representatives and activists of all political parties are being presented at the Golf protest. where we'll be continuing with more local news updates after a break.
நீங்களும் புதுவருட காலத்தில் மக்கள் வங்கியுடன் சுபமான வைப்புகளை மேற்கொண்டு பெறுவது வைக்க நொரிட்டாகிய வர்த்தக நாமத்துடன் மக்ஸ் பிளேட்ஸ் ரைஸ் போல்ஸ் போன்ற பரிசுகளை பெற்றுக் கொள்ளுங்கள். உங்கள் அனைவருக்கும் சுபமான வைப்புகளாக அமையட்டும்.
Welcome back, and we continue with more local news updates. The Presidential Media Division says P.L. Nishanta and Lohan Ratwata will continue to function in the state ministerial portfolios. The names of these two ministers, the state ministers rather, were not included in the list of state ministers appointed by the President recently.
And accordingly, Lohan Ratwata will continue to act as the State Minister of Gems and Jewellery-related Industries, and P.L. Nishanta as the State Minister of Women and Child Development, Preschools and Primary Education, School Infrastructure Facilities and Education Services.
The Department of Criminal Investigations has arrested a suspect in connection with the unlawful assembling at the Rambukana town protest.
SSP Avisavela Sitavakapura initiated investigation into the alleged incident happened in Rambukana area. Then thereafter, yesterday, CID has taken charge. Investigation team consists of 22 police officers of Criminal Investigation Department is conducting investigation into the incident. A superintendent of police is heading the investigation team, including 1 ASP, 3 chief inspectors and 18 subordinate officers. They have recorded 20 statements in respect of the witnesses. In addition to that, 10 documents have been taken into their custody as productions that are related to the incident. In addition to that, they have collected certain CCTV footages in respect of the incident. The footages have been collected from various fixed CCTV cameras in the area. In addition to that, they are collecting all the video clips that had been circulated in social media and electronic media. Accordingly, they are going to trace the evidence, especially related to the incident. In addition to that, there was a video footage in respect of a person who was trying to set fire on the Bowser. That person has been identified and he was arrested by Criminal Investigation Department this morning, and he is a resident of Rambukana area and 28-year-old person. That particular person would be produced before K-Gold Magistrate today. The Criminal Investigation Department is conducting further investigation.
Meanwhile, UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe has paid his last respects to the remains of the victim of the Rambukana incident, Chaminda Lakshan, at the residence in Karantagastana in Narambada this morning. Our correspondent says the funeral was conducted after religious observances this evening. And we now move on to some news in brief. Parliamentarians Venerable Athuraliya Ratanathera, Vasudeva Nanayakkara, Udaya Gammampila, Anura Priyadarshana Yapa, Dayasiri Jayasekara, Veera Sumana Veerasinghe and Jagat Pushpakumara, who have become independent MPs recently, have met Chinese ambassador in Sri Lanka, Zi Shehwan. A communique of the Chinese embassy says the parliamentarians have discussed on the present situation and the Chinese assistance to Sri Lanka. They have requested the envoy to continuously extend support to Sri Lanka. The Supreme Council of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress has decided to expel Environment State Minister Nazir Ahmed from the SLMC yesterday. The Department of Meteorology predicts showers or thunder showers in many parts of the island today as well. The meteorology report forecasts rainfall exceeding 100 millimeters in certain locations in the western, central, Sabaragamo, Uva, north central and northwestern provinces. The Nalanda television broadcast organised for the 9th occasion by the Media Communication Unit of the Nalanda College, Colombo, has commenced yesterday. The program will be conducted till tomorrow. The telecast is being transmitted from a special studio complex located at the school premises. The program could be watched via the Pure TV channel number 120 and also through the official YouTube channel of the Nalanda College Media Communication Unit.
Meanwhile, Minister Douglas Devananda says measures are being taken to attract investors for the breeding of freshwater fish. He reiterates that interested investors will be incorporated in the development of inland fish industry using ponds and tanks. The minister has expressed their opinion at a discussion with the Board of Representatives comprising of France and Maldives on the food and agriculture policy of the United Nations at the Ministry of Fisheries yesterday. The minister has also pointed out on this occasion that many steps have been taken to increase the fish consumption in Sri Lanka. He also stated that it has become a timely need to propagate breeding in ponds and tanks at low cost in the face of rising fuel prices in the world market. The government aim is to seek the cooperation of medium-scale investors in the program. And the ministers also said that also being made to manufacture boats and fishing equipment for the fishing community through collaboration of the Save No Institute. Many measures are also to be taken into future to utilize necessary technology to prevent the rotting of fish breeding harvest by fishermen at sea prior to the breeding of the land. Minister Douglas Devananda has also requested the UN delegation to extend necessary support to enhance the Sri Lankan fishing industry to the level of highly developed fishing industry of Norway. FAO representative Sri Lanka Maldives Vimalarana Sharan, the Secretary to the Ministry of Fisheries R.M. Ratnayaka and Dr. D.C.T. Disanayaka of FAO participated in the talks. Stay tuned for international news after this break.
Prima Kotumi, Pantamai.
Welcome back. We move on to news overseas now. The Ukraine military said the Russian forces continue their offensive operations in eastern Ukraine.
Meanwhile, Russian forces continue to partially block and shell Kharkiv, Ukraine's second largest city, and are active in the area of Izium, the media said.
Ukrainian forces in the past 24 hours repelled 8 Russian attacks in the Donbas region, destroying 9 tanks, 13 armored vehicles and 3 artillery systems. The Ukraine military said this. Meanwhile, the Russian forces have made no major gains in the last 24 hours despite increased activity as Ukrainian counterattacks continue to hinder their efforts, British military intelligence has said. Despite Russia's claimed conquest of the port city of Mariupol, heavy fighting continues to frustrate Moscow's attempts to capture the city, impeding their progress in the Donbas region, they also said.
Prima Kotumi, Pantamai.
Welcome back with your sports update. And Rajasthan Royals team has scored a thrilling 15-run victory against the Delhi Capitals team in India Premier League cricket tournament match played in Mumbai.
The Rajasthan
competitor at the National Championship Athletic Tournament concluded at the Diagaba Mahinda Rajapaksa Stadium today.
The National Athletics Championship Tournament has been organized for the 100th occasion. The fastest sportsperson is Chamod Yodasinghe of the Sri Lanka Army, who finished the 100-meter men's running event in 10.50 seconds. The fastest female sportsperson was Amasha De Silva of the Sri Lanka Army, who concluded the 100-meter female running event. The best female player Nilani Ratnayaka won the 3,000-meter hurdles event. Best male player Sunedha Ranasinghe won the javelin throwing event. The 16th Battle of Gold cricket encounter DSN Anayaka and Mahanama Colleges Colombo has ended in a draw at the Pisara Oval Stadium in Colombo today. The Mahanama team batting first has declared their first innings score at 282 runs with the loss of 6 wickets. The DSN Anayaka team has scored 173 runs in their first innings. The DS team, facing an innings defeat, has scored 107 runs with the loss of 6 wickets when their play ended.
And with that, we conclude tonight's news.
Together with Charita, I'm Sharifa, wishing you a very pleasant night. Thank you so much for joining us.